Hello, beautiful soul. How you been? How you feeling? How you doing? Erika here. Today I wanted to talk about something that I've been pondering on since Monday when I had a conversation with a beautiful soul. And I think many of us question these things throughout our life. And her question was about protection. She genuinely asked me, what do I need to protect myself from? I keep hearing that again and again. And what does it even mean? And I want to share my experience because at the end of the day, everything I share is my lived experience and it's not gospel. It's just my lived experience. And I want to share it in the spirit of sharing to see what lands, what resonates, discard what doesn't resonate, that doesn't feel true. I'm just sharing my lived experience. And honestly, I do it because if you know my story, growing up, being very open, very intuitive, I didn't have anybody to ask. I didn't have resources like there are now. And we just wish I had somebody to just plant a seed or, bring an awareness forward for me and that kind of thing. So that's why I share what I share. So her question was about protection. Why do we need protection? And if we are sovereign, infinite beings, who do we need protection from? And in my experience and in my awareness, we do need to protect our energy fields because some of us, I don't feel that is everybody, experience interference throughout our life. And I'm going to explain some of the cases and what circumstances, but hear me out. So some of us, knowing that we are all come from different galactic places, different dimensions, and we are born to the flesh, but physically we look kind of alike, but energetically and spiritually, we have different backgrounds. We have different lived experience in multiple realities and dimensions, and then we come here with this vessel, but with our energy field being a particular vibration because of who we are on a soul level. Then let's say somebody that has a mission or has something that they bring, they tend to be more prone to psychic attacks, psychic interference, all these kind of things like implantation by negative ETs, all this stuff. And why it happens is because why in our agreeing of coming here, this happens in my awareness is because coming here to experience contrasts, to experience polarity, we can experience the good and the bad. We can experience what it is to feel attack in a way, and how do we come about discovering aspects of us that make us stronger in a way that build kind of our systems to withstand whatever. And I don't share this from a disempowering stand like, oh my gosh, like there's these forces and these horrible things that can happen. Yes, but awareness is key. Once you know that these things exist, you can do things. There's so many practices, there's so many tools to navigate these things. And I remember in my conversation, she asked me, so what types of things are out there? And I say it can happen in so many ways. And I'm going to explain what air bounds can do to your energy field. So let's say you have a life, you have a body, and then you have a friend, and all of a sudden you just not in the same wavelength, like something happens, a misunderstanding, and transcends really bad. And long story short, you become enemies. So one of you is so resentful, so angered, doesn't forgive, like keeps sitting his feeling, his mind, like every minute, like there's so many entrenchments, there is so much, your energy is so compromised with this other being that when he transcends, when he leaves the body, let's say when he dies, this I'm making these characters up, so you know. Let's say it's just like everything gets erased and he's a good angel, and some religions, some beliefs kind of point in that direction, like not really. The consciousness doesn't die. What dies is the flesh. But the consciousness, your morality, that who you were, everything that of that source, of that nature, your mental, your spiritual body, all that, your emotional, all stays kind of like in that aspect of your soul, even though you probably had many, many, many incarnations before that. But that stays with you. And especially if you hold in such a low frequency with resentment, with anger, with something along those lines directed at a specific person, then let's say you're not in the physical anymore and you went, whatever you went, you hold in that. There's like so many entrenchments already in connection with that other individual. And let's say that other individual was like, that happened, that was horrible, but like, I changed the page and I didn't hold the grudges and I moved on and blah, blah, blah. Then this soul goes on a completely different experience, maybe elevates faster, maybe crosses dimensions and gets to an understanding, and then gets the opportunity to be incarnated again somewhere in the multiverse. And then comes incarnated. And then there is that, let's say, depth, there is that pending strand connected to this other being that, on the other hand, still holding grudges, still holding resentment, still kind of like, I want the worst to happen to this being because they're the worst, he's the worst, or she's the worst, whatever. And then there's that. So it's somewhere in one of your dimensions, it's somewhere there affecting you. It could affect your sleep, it could affect your romantic life, it could affect your financial stability, it could affect you mentally, it can affect your physical body depending on where it's located. Some people describe it as astral larva, and it kind of feels like that because there is something kind of like insinuous there in your field, and kind of bothering, like made a living space and stay there in your field until you become aware, or somebody supporting you becomes aware and kind of does some work to get them removed. And there's so many things. So that is one of the cases of why do we need to like really take care of our energy. If you feel that you don't sleep well, if you feel that there's so many, that's not your character, let's just say, like, did you always been like that? To question, like, we're not supposed to always feel bad, like our body to feel, unless we have like a real condition that we were born with or something around that line. It's not meant to like always suffer. So I always tell people like question, because there's like a myriad of causes. In my experience, it could be just many things. So I just gave that example of how airbound can affect you in your energy. Also, you move into a house, it's like a new house for you. I have that experience, actually. This is a real experience that happened not too long ago, that I went to somebody's house. I'm never going to say names, so, keep very private all my clients' experiences. I went to this person's house when I was having a physical office, and I did a healing session, but I was like, I'm so honest. Like, if you know me, like, I'll tell you what's up, or like you tell my face like something is wrong. And then I was like having some hard time trying to conduct the session. And then she's like, what happens? What's going on? I was like, there's some interference in your house. Like, there's some density that I'm trying to kind of block off so that I can really focus on you. But I was like, it's really distracting. And she could tell, like, I was uneasy. And then she was like, okay. And then I got to the point that I was able to conduct this healing session. Everything was well. But she remembered, and she was like, oh, so what was that? And I was like, well, I feel that your house has a thing going on. And I tend not to open myself so much and like dig and find out specifically what it is, unless somebody's like, yes, go ahead and do it. But I got that she wasn't ready. So I said, okay. And then that stood with her. So 2 years passed, she contacts me again, and she's like, well, there's some stuff happening in the house, and this house is brand new, and we're like the first people living here. And I was like, okay. And then I listened, and then she went on and explained some things. And I said, well, yes, if you want me, I can tell you more or less what I'm catching on, and see if you're interested in that. And one of the services that I do is remote clearing a house. And I ask for either the planes or a physical picture of the front of the house, so in the address, and then I start tapping into, and it was too much. I wasn't really surprised because I haven't encountered this, but she was really surprised. So she had already contacted many other people to work on her place to see what was happening. And when I told her, it matched what some of these other people were saying. So basically, the house was brand new, everything, all the construction, but the land had history. And the consciousness of that collective trauma was kept there. So it was affecting the people that were living there. So we did some work, and my work is like 30 days to get it removed. And I explained her the whole thing and what to do and how to move on. And she was really, really, really surprised. But I'm not surprised because it's like those in the body, like those trauma files, when we experience certain things, it kind of stays in the body, stays in the field. That's how people that can read energy can read you and what happened or what's blocking you or this kind of thing. So the saying goes with physical places, locations, businesses, land, houses, all this what we call like haunted houses is real. And some people, it's always one person, in this case was the little kid, gets more affected by it because of kind of like there is something there that they need to experience, or there is like some vulnerability that they kind of affect one person more, and it affects the sleep, it affects them a lot in the day to day, especially like kind of like intrusive thoughts and emotions that are not their own, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's not their character, like what's happening. So this is a way too that we get interfered with when there is some situation in the space that we live. It also happens with black magic, with witchcraft and spells and curses, like all this stuff. To me, is real because I have dealt with it and I have supported clients through that. Basically, what people do is they employ some entities. And we were like, what entities? There could be entities like, people think of entities like something so abstract, but I want to really help you think of like how we are in our day to day. There's some people that are nice, and there's some people that are not nice, and that go out of their way to make other people really struggle, like have a hard time because they're just so resentful and they're just so pissed off and they're just full of anger. So these people transcend, and they didn't become angels and moved on. Like, no, they stay kind of in that frequency. So these type of entities get employed by the people that knows how to manipulate those energies. And they do them offerings, they do them promises and all of these things. And people that experience addictions too, many times they have entity involvement because let's say it's porn or it's just alcohol, and you cannot get out of that. Well, because of the energy that they're in, and they lower their frequency to a certain level, it's kind of like an energy match for those that when they were living, they were enjoying those environments and they were enjoying those things, but they don't have the physical body anymore, but they want to experience it anyway. So they're going to come as close as possible to your feel, like so in your face, that they experience that too, through a person, through you, through the person that is addicted to something. So that is another way that people get interfered with. There's few more ways, but I don't want to overwhelm you. I just want you to get into the thought that if you don't feel like yourself, question it. If you feel like something is odd, question it. It's not for you to get fear, because we come here to remember who we are, to remember how to maneuver, how to manipulate energy, our own energy field. And when we notice something is off, just like, okay, do something about it. And I want to teach you something that I learned many years ago that is really powerful. When we take a shower, right? Because it's so interesting. Like for so many years, I was like, oh, this protection, but like how do we integrate it? Well, we wash our hair, we take a shower, we do all these things. So why don't we take care of our energy body? do some energetic hygiene. And it's like, yeah, then it clicked to me. I was like, yeah, we don't do it. So I do it a lot. I do it like when I see clients, when I'm in the morning, in the evening, like throughout the day, like in my mind, when I'm driving, when I feel like I need it. Because when you know your energy baseline, I talk a lot about this with my clients. It's like, you know how it feels not to be interfered with. And then you notice when something is coming your way, because it can also be a thought form. Like it's just some negativity in the air that we have like radio antennas that are like invisible. We just like tuning into, oh, what's happening? What's flowing by? What's right now? Especially collectively, depending on where you live, is like there's some difficult things happening. And then if you consider yourself sensitive, you're sensitive, you kind of tap into that. You're like processing through you. You're processing the grief, you're processing the sadness, you're processing the sorrow, all of those things through you. So if you already know what is your energy baseline, it's so easy for you to discern when something is kind of not really yours. And what do? You just, what I like to do, I'm gonna show you 2 ways that I deal with this. One is to my own breath, and I do this a lot with my clients, just like help them to decompress because they're so tight and they're feeling in the energy and like so kind of like hunched over energetically that I tell them, breathe from your heart, expand your field so wide, so big, so open, imagining that your heart is a big balloon that is expanding in all directions, up all the way, it's getting big, 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 and take deep breaths, just kind of expanding that contraction that most people have because we feel like we need to like hide from others, like protect from others. It's not quite like that. It's just being really observant and know and being in your power and knowing when something is off and breathing. And if you notice that something is off, just like through your own breath, you like return to center, return to rightful owner, return to sender, return to rightful owner. I learned this many, many years through the beautiful Alisa Melhorn. And return to sender, return to rightful owner. You're just reading and allow it to just like flow through you. Don't stick. And especially if it's a thought form, like something that you're tapped into and like you don't want it to like hold to stay in your body. You don't want it to hold on to it so tightly. That's why we like kind of like energetically hunch over because we're holding way, way, way too much. So expanding your breath, breathing through your heart, letting it just dissolve, wash away, disappear. That's one way of dealing with that. Also, when you're taking a shower, just visualizing the water and declaring that it's washing over whatever density that you're carrying. It could be your own density. And you just like letting it wash away. And I also like to do these declarations as I'm doing that. I am God, because we are aspects of God. I am God, I'm sovereign, I am free. I am God, I'm sovereign, I am free. And just letting that wash over you. And I want to teach you a third way that I also teach my clients. And this is 3 steps. So the first step is just right below our feet, we have these energetic centers that help us transmute and release what is really bothering us. It should go on automatic without us paying attention. But since we don't tend our energy, we don't pay attention to it. Since many people have it like kind of like blocked, like dormant, like we want to activate them, visualizing, having that intention. That is the power that you need. And believe, you have faith that this is really working for you, because it is, if you have the faith and the confidence that it is. So just visualize these roots below your feet, coming down, 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 as slow as you can possibly imagine. Sometimes they also go like sideways in all directions, for some people, rather than going down to there. So be okay with whatever you are able to visualize. So that's number 1, you ground yourself. Number 2, you invite in an element of your choice. And I love working with fire and I love working with water. So water and fire for me are just my favorite elements to work with. And I just imagine myself like a flame coming out of my heart, like a little flame that igniting from within me, coming out and burning away everything that maybe it's my own sadness. Maybe I went through something difficult and I'm like trying to process it. And just inviting it to come in and to transmute whatever it is that is in your mind, in your heart, in your way of your joy. Why you're not experiencing joy, why you're not experiencing yourself fully. What is that limitation at the moment? Just like you, some people like to invite the violet flame. Anything that feels in resonance with you, it's totally fine. So do that for a little bit. And when you feel complete, the last step that I like to do is just like inviting this Christ light coming through you, and you declare, upgrade my light quotient by 100%, upgrading it to the highest, most benevolent frequency for you. You don't want somebody else's, you want your own signature. Get a signature. So you do that. You just imagine like a white cascade of like diamond light all over your body, kind of like permeating over your aura, closing up any tears, any gaps, any openings. And you can visualize it in your mind, going back around you, all over. And then just do that until you feel complete. And if you do it with faith, if you do it with conviction, your visualization, you are going to feel a difference. Use your breath too as you're doing these practices, and they really will help you. So I just wanted to share this. I hope this brought some food for thought, this brought some awarenesses, and that some of these tools are useful for you. So I love you, and I see you next time. Have a great, great day.